Hello and welcome, fellow Marvel fans, to the Snark Industries podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Remy.
And we invite you to join us as we work our way through every Marvel TV show, movie, and crossover, meaning if there's a Marvel character on screen, it's fair game. All categorized in the temporal order of their setting. By the time we're done, we'll have built a complete start-to-finish timeline of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. To accomplish this goal and to have a bit of fun along the way, each episode will be split into two parts, the Watch Party and the Deep Dive. If you're hearing this, you found one of our deep dives. This is where we slow things down and take a more pragmatic, in-depth look at a piece of Marvel media. We'll walk through the full plot, explore connections to the wider MCU and Marvel Comics, highlight Easter eggs, unpack lore, and of course, give you our own personal thoughts and feelings. Although this episode stands on its own, it is designed to complement the Watch Party. So, if you haven't watched along with us yet, we highly recommend starting there first and coming back here for the full breakdown. Most importantly, we want to thank each and every one of you for joining us on this incredible journey. We're not affiliated with Marvel in any way, shape, or form. We're just fans who are passionate about these stories and these characters and wish to share them with everyone in a new and exciting way. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Snark Industries.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Snark Industries Deep Dive. We just watched the first episode of Spider-Noir. John, what was that about?
Yeah, so Spider-Noir, pretty fun. Out of the blue here, our first detour into new content fitting into our timeline, which is pretty exciting and fun, and totally did not spark a little freak out from you, which was fun to see. But so we have episode 1 here, where we have the story of the Spider, Ben Reilly, who is a Spider Universe vigilante fighting after World War I. They do a quick sort of cut scene of showing different things that happened, of how he's hung up his mask because it's just not worth it anymore after he lost his soon-to-be bride, Ruby, some years ago. And we find out a big deterrence already from the stories that we kind of already know, that she is attributed to the line, "With great power comes great responsibility," which is at least still a central theme in pretty much all of Spiderdom.
Yeah, except for the extortion in this one.
Right. So, he's hung up the mask in that sense, but is now working as a private investigator in New York, still seemingly, as we kind of see through the episode, helping people, doing good things. And that's why he is broke. He's got a secretary who is mad at him because he's not paying her and always keeps sort of turning down work. So that's kind of interesting. But he's got a job to start with where he's tracking this man named Addison. And as he's doing so, he is knocked unconscious for a few moments on the ground from another private investigator who was also looking for this Addison, which was kind of a strange turn of events to not see his, even with hanging up the mask, not seeing his spider powers, his Ben Tingle in action.
Oh, God.
He and this other this other investigator by the name of Donegal tracked this Addison fellow to a Standard oil company, who then engulfs himself in flames and goes to attack. Donegal ends up pulling a revolver and shoots this man who, as I said, in an oil company, lights everything on fire, and we have a big explosion. Afterwards, Ben and this Donegal sort of bond a little bit and finds out that they were hired by the same guy to find this fellow, with this little joke about one being paid less than the other. Then we see him kind of back at his office. Another client comes in, a Mr. Carmody, who is convinced that his wife, who Ben doesn't immediately believe is actually his wife because of how she looks versus how he looks.
Yeah. What do you call him? A syphilitic walrus?
Yes, syphilitic walrus. Believes she's having an affair and wants him to sort of find evidence of this. And we get this little nod, which I thought was interesting, that about him taking photographs and how he's a good photographer. Hey, bring me pictures of Spider-Man. And so it just kind of goes down that. But he goes and finds her, and she is indeed at a hotel with another man. They see him. They sort of share this kiss and slap each other, and it's all very weird. And then he gets out of there, and it turns to find out, as he's getting this film developed, that the man that she goes to see is the mayor. He decides to wash his hands of all of this. He doesn't want any part of it. But instead, he and his secretary decide that they are going to use these photographs to try to blackmail this woman into giving them money so that they don't release her relationship with the mayor. So he finds out that she is a singer at this club. He goes, he listens to her sing. He's enraptured by her. And we sort of get these first sort of plugs. We find out her name, Ket Hardy, which is as we'll kind of later figure out or put together, or those that are fans will know already, is the Black Cat. Mm-hmm. So he tries to blackmail her. She introduces him to her muscle, Flint Marko, a.k.a. the Sandman.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, let's talk about it tomorrow. I'll just leave this one here and you can talk to me about the negatives at a later time. And so he leaves the bar at that point, being trailed by Flint, who takes him up into sort of this scaffolding of a building that's being done, this sort of almost, dare I say, quintessential fight area. It's always in these unfinished buildings that these things happen.
Classic,
yeah. And they sort of do battle up there in a manner of speaking. It's a lot of swinging around of wood and things like that. We don't really get to see a whole lot of spider powers throughout the entirety of it, though he does use his webbing once to save, well, not really save. Cat was about to get slapped by who we find out later to be the mayor. He stops him from doing that and leaves. And then during this fight with Marko, which we get to see sort of the Sandman stuff start happening, this, his body calcifies and everything. He throws Ben off the top of this building, and we get to see him use his webbing once again to save himself. And as all this kind of happens, he swings back up there. Sandman is beat down. Black Cat shows up. He decides to give her the negatives for the photos for free because he feels bad for her. And then sort of as the final scene of the episode, his secretary's quitting because he's once again not gotten any money, which, to be honest, I'm not super mad about, as this was a blackmail scheme to start with and just doesn't feel
right to begin with.
Spider-Man-y. But she's quitting, and Black Cat walks into the office saying, well, no reason to quit. I actually want to hire you for something. And so, we will assume that the secretary probably will stay for this as they discuss some pay and ultimately have this job to now go and find the missing Flint Marko Sandman, who is mysteriously vanished since their encounter on the unfinished rooftops of this building. So that's more or less episode 1.
Yeah, last we saw him, he was completely sand. So I guess I'd go into hiding too.
Yeah, maybe he's not even really hiding. Maybe he's just on a beach somewhere blending in.
Well, he fell through the grates.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what happened in episode 1, a good setup in terms of how it ties into the MCU. And you can kind of correct me here. I think you're probably better versed in the Spider-Verse. See what I did? Than I am. But, Spider-Noir, I think in general, is kind of a almost alternate reality of Spiderdom.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have these characters that are callbacks to what would ultimately be the MCU proper, but they're different in different ways. Like, we got Cat Hardy, who's Black Cat, so it's just different kind of thing that they're kind of plugging in. And it seems that they're already taking some liberties, like I mentioned in the synopsis, with the great power and great responsibility bit and everything else. But because once again, and we're doing a lot of this early on, which I kind of like, to be honest, but
yeah, same.
We have something that doesn't really super tie into the MCU at large because it is meant to be sort of standalone. And with this particular IP, we have, I think this is the first one that we've had that is part of the Sonyverse stuff that we're inputting into this, which certainly have their place and certainly stories that deserve to be told. And Spider-Man is iconic. Dare I say, one of, if not the most iconic Marvel character that there is.
Yeah.
And everything. So, but in terms of tie-ins with the MCU at large, it's going to be mostly sort of parallels of characters that we know without any real bearing on stories in the MCU in general, unless they try to do something really crazy down the line. But at least in episode 1, doesn't seem to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I feel like there will probably be a wealth of information in terms of how this ties into comic books. So, Remy, why don't you tell us about that?
Oh, so much.
Yeah.
Well, first, we're going to kick off with what universe it is in. And we actually don't know. This one is completely unnamed at the moment. Of course, we have not watched all 8 episodes, so it could be named by the end. But as it stands, we do not know the universe because he even says right out the gate is someone asked him what universe we're in, and he thought it was an odd question. So it's the only one he knows of. So we categorically know that this is not the same Spider-Noir that is from the Spider-Verse movies, because that is Peter Parker. This is Ben Reilly, which, talking about comic book tie-ins, that's a pretty big comic book tie-in. Anyone that knows anything about Spider-Man and the clones and all that jazz knows that Ben Reilly is a huge name. He is in the comics, the Scarlet Spider, which is my personal favorite Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And to use that name here is very interesting. So that is obviously a huge tie into the comics in a very strange way. But as far as the actual roots are concerned, there were 2 runs. Well, it was a one run, one with a start and a sequel. Spider-Man Noir 1 through 4 in 2009. And then there was a follow-up, Spider-Man Noir Eyes Without a Face. That was a 4 comic book series as well. And that was a follow-up to the first bit. And then there was also a Spider-Man Noir in 2020. And there's a current running Spider-Man Noir series as well. So a lot of source material to pull from, a lot of characters to pull from. They're doing an interesting thing like Cat Hardy, for example. That is Felicia Hardy and the Black Cat. So there's a lot of mixing up of names and a lot of kind of picking apart, deconstructing and reconstructing these characters because they don't parallel the comics very well so far. I mean, episode 1, again, there could be a lot more parallels coming up, but from what I've seen, no great parallels. But moving on to Easter eggs that we caught, there was as I said, the statement of what universe is this? Ben starts with, someone once asked me what universe this was. Strange question. It stuck with me all these years later. All I could say, it's the only one I knew of. So that's kind of a cool, like right out the gate, breaking you away from thinking this is the same Spider-Man of Spider-Verse. He would obviously know of other universes. There was the opening narration over web slinging, which is almost exactly like Peter Parker in the Sam Raimi trilogy. We've got the organic web shooters, which, again, if you know Spider-Man comics, you flop back and forth between the mechanical and the organic. There are a dozen versions of each. And as you mentioned, with great powers comes great responsibility. Being attributed to someone else feels a little weird. But as we mentioned in the watch party, attributing that to someone named Ben might be a little weird because his name is Ben. So, strange choice, but I'm down with it. And I also wanted to point out Silvermane. He is in the show. His name is Finn Byrne. I don't know that we've heard that yet, but in the comic, his name is Silvio Manfredi. So they kind of shortened it to Silvermane, which is an alias in the comics, but the name itself has changed. So again, a lot of comic tie-ins, a lot of characters being taken out of the comics and then reused and reshuffled, I suppose. But yeah, all in all, what'd you think?
Yeah, so I was excited that we were going to do this, and I've heard this was coming, and it was just funny that it sort of fell in our timeline of where we were basically already at.
Yeah.
So it's fun to be able to watch this in real time with you, first time for both of us, and first time with all of you, as it's kind of happening, as it's just releasing now at the time of our recording and everything. So that is pretty exciting. I am a big fan of all things noir. I really like that sort of setting vibe, things like that. Do what?
I said, Yashi.
Oh,
carry on.
I don't know what I thought you said,
Terrible
but it wasn't that. But yes, you're right. So I'm a big fan of the show. There's sort of that sort of vibe and everything. So it was cool to have that. I am a little bit apprehensive about Nick Cage being the showrunner, as I think we discussed in our episode 0. Ghost Rider is my favorite hero from Marvel, and I hate those movies with Nick Cage in it because it's such an amalgamation of a hero that I really, really love and adore.
Oh, man.
So having him be the main character once again is a whole mood. I don't know if I super buy him as Spider-Man, but then I guess if they're really trying to lean into the, old man, he's out of his element, he's out of his game. I just don't feel like with spider powers that would really be the case, but that's what they're going with. So who's to question their artistic direction with that? But that being said, I really actually still enjoyed this episode a lot. Like I said, I really like Noir a lot. I really like, and you mentioned it in the Easter eggs, the Silvermane, the Brendan Gleeson character. Brendan Gleeson is a treasure. Oh. I like him in everything that he does.
Yes.
100%. And yeah, he's and I mean, even the little bit that we got to see of him in this episode, very sinister. The scene where he slits the guy's throat. Rough. It's like, I mean, it is rough. I felt stuff then. I was like, oh man, that is so really, really making setting up a potent villain, and couldn't have a better actor to be playing it, I think. So, but I really liked it. I really liked all the plugs and the characters that we recognize, even if they did sort of reimagine the naming and, maybe, the general vibe of these characters. You know, they're still familiar characters, so that's pretty fun. And I did like we got to see it really in flashbacks more so than anything, but I really did like, and I think they did a very good job of the noir suit. Like
it's beautiful.
Yeah, the outfit. I mean, it looks exactly like I imagined that it should look on the screen, you know. So they really did a good job with that. You know, like I said, I look forward to what I imagine will be him redonning the suit sometime before the end of this season. But yeah, overall, a lot of fun, worth it. I'll have to swallow down my pride a bit and say, even with my hatred of things that Nick Cage has done to the characters that I like, he did well enough here, and the just the vibe and the general setting and everything else really made for a good time. So, how about yourself? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I thought it was a ton of fun. Having read all of the Spider-Noir comics, except for the latest issues of the new, the current running series, it's a ton of fun to not only see that world reshuffled, but the Spider-Man world that we know reshuffled. I really appreciate that, having been already familiar with these stories, I'm getting something new. Mm-hmm. I'm getting a little bit of a reshuffle of something that I'm familiar with. And that to me is a joy. Loved seeing like you said, the character drops, the familiar names, the Sandman, for starters. He's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. He's such a unique character, you know, started out in the comics as a petty crime, a petty theft, I think it was. But I kind of dig that they're taking him and making him more of a sympathetic character here, because I've always really appreciated Flint.
Yeah,
he becomes quite a character in the future. So to see him in live action that is not Spider-Man 3 is nice. So
how dare you?
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey man, that was a train wreck, and I'm kind of looking forward to getting to it.
Oh, I can't wait to see the Tobey Maguire symbiote dance. It's my favorite part of any movie ever.
Boy, that's going to be fun. But yeah, long story short, like you, I thoroughly enjoyed the visuals, the aesthetics of the costume specifically. I'm really looking forward to him, because we know he's going to bust back into the suit. He's going to have some reason to get the suit out of the wall and blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing him in action, and not Nick Cage being
just himself. Yeah.
Because watching Nick Cage swing via web was
borderline
uncomfortable.
Painful. Yeah.
I don't know if that's the word, but it was weird.
Agreed.
But all in all, thoroughly enjoyed it, and very much looking forward to the next 7 episodes.
Same here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed that as much as we did, and cannot wait to see the rest of it with you. On to the next.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Snark Industries podcast. To join the conversation and further explore the Marvel Cinematic Universe with us, head on over to snarkindustriespod.com. The link will be in the show notes. But with that, we will see you in the next adventure.
Goodbye, everybody. Yeah, dude. I don't know.